if I should put this up here or not. That was incredibly beautiful. I'm going to try to pull myself together now. My voice wobbles. It's a little bit of nerves and a little bit of tears. So, okay. I don't trust myself. I'm going to put this right there. All right. Today, I want to share with you just a small portion of my story. I have learned in the past that my story is just a little too long to share in one sitting. So I'm just going to share a small portion. This is a really good season for me to reflect on thanking God for all the gifts He's already given me. And so I was journaling when Chris called me or texted me and said, "Hey, would you mind speaking?" And I said, I actually was just writing. And so it works perfectly that I'm going to share a little bit of what I had been journaling about. And it is how thankful I am that God makes His personal relationship with me so obviously personal and intimate. And what I'm going to share with you is my story. I'm not meaning for it to be compared with your story, or I'm not trying to say that this is what you need. But I am wanting to share part of my story because I believe wholeheartedly that if we all share our personal, intimate, I believe all of our stories are personal and intimate, and it should be obvious to all of us just how personal and intimate it is. And because He created each one of us, and because it's so unique, we should share it so we all get a bigger glimpse of who He is. So, the part I'm going to share with you is how God knew just what I needed to know His personal acceptance, His personal love for me, and He sent it to me in the form of a man that called himself an atheist. I would try my hardest at every opportunity to share my friend Jesus with this man. I would try to tell him everything I had learned growing up. I would try to live by example. And I would show Christianity by my daily living. And all of this is good, and I don't regret it. I believe this is what we should do. There were some days that felt like an uphill battle. You see, he was surrounded by his family that believed differently. And all of them, including him, always felt the need to question and test my every belief. And this was a good thing I would learn because I had grown up the peacemaker, the one that let everybody speak for me. I didn't know I needed people to challenge me, to make me learn how to use my voice. But God knew. And before I knew it, without me knowing it, I fell in love with this man. I married this man. You guys, this ridiculous man. And I say ridiculous because we are opposite in just about everything. He's 80s, and I am a 90s girl. If you look in our fridge, we have different mayonnaises. We have different pickles. After 21 years of marriage, we still like our clothes and towels folded differently. You guys, this is just the start. And yet, I was drawn to him. And things just worked very smoothly. And trust me, I did not want this. I did not want to fall in love with this man. And I was shocked because it was against logic. But after a string of bad relationships, I had prayed to God. I said, I am out, I am done, I am removing myself from the dating scene. If there is a man out there you want me with, you are going to have to drop him in front of me and just make it work. And that's exactly what he did, because he slipped Dan under the radar. And without me even realizing it, I was in love with him. And it didn't seem possible that this was the man that God would have chosen for me, because like I said, he claimed he was atheist when I first met him. Now, here's the kicker. I have learned more about God's love and acceptance from him than growing up in a Christian home and going to church. And I want to be clear, this does not take away from my growing up in a Christian home. I had an extremely good foundation, and if I had time, I would tell you my story, because it's a good story, but it's long. It's long. That's a different story. Growing up in a Christian home gave me a good foundation and taught me that I wanted to keep my home a Christian home. Growing up in my Christian home taught me that God was beside me at all times. And it taught me that I wanted my kids to grow up in a home of worship. And growing up in a Christian church, a good Christian church, the churches I grew up in supported my family. We had good Christian leaders that made me want to always be a part of the church. It made me want to be one of the leaders. So this is not to take away from it, but God's personal love and acceptance of me, he needed somebody special for that job. I remember when Dan and I were still fairly new together. New enough that I still felt the need to impress him. At this time, we were still living in College Place, Washington. There was not a lot of shops, big shops in that area. So on one of my visits back home in the more Seattle area where there was malls and stuff, I went to Victoria's Secret with my mom. I'm going there, you guys. So I thought, I'm going to impress Dan. And I found something at Victoria's Secret in his favorite color, which impressed me, steel gray blue. You guys, I got home. And I was waiting to impress him. I was waiting to have him wowed. He got home and he made sure that I knew he saw me. He made sure that I knew that he was happy to see me, but he was not noticing my outfit or glorifying me for my outfit. And finally I said, "Do you like it?" And honest to God, he said, "Do you like it?" I said, "No, it's your favorite color." Remember, you guys, we are opposites. Steel gray blue? No, thank you. I said, "No." He said, "I don't need that. I like you. I think you're beautiful. If you want something, You need to like it. I stood there with my mind blown. This is not what I had grown up believing that I needed to do. He stood there offering me a gift of simply loving me for me. I didn't need to bring anything to the table. This is not what society had taught me. It would take me a couple more years of his patience and working on me for me to really believe this. Nowadays, and this is probably going to speak more to the younger generation, I get it, but there's a couple here. There's a couple here. Nowadays, we see a lot on social media about date nights. They go the extra mile to make pictures look really fascinating, right? They make it a big deal, date nights. And I had to think about this really hard before coming here. Dan and I have gone on 2 dates. In fact, we are still waiting for our honeymoon. I think we're just building up anticipation. We have gone on 2 dates. One was, I think, for my birthday after about 10 years of marriage, and one was just last year. Now, I'm not down on couples that need date nights, that go on date nights. What I'm saying is there are some that do it for the pictures. Like there's some sort of a competition that validates their relationship. And then those that don't know what a good foundational relationship is are questioning why they break up so soon. But it looks so neat. It was so good on the pictures they were posting. It looks like they had such a great relationship. They did all this stuff. Dan and I's dates is when he says, hey, I got to make a run to Lowe's and O'Reilly's. And I know he's asking for some quality time, so I come like this because this is what I'm mostly in at home. It's whatever I have grabbed next to me on the floor of the bed that morning. This is me, you guys. Ted knows. Where's Ted? Ted knows. He's come and pick up eggs from me. In fact, I'm having a good hair day. I actually told Dan, oh my goodness, my hair looks good this morning. I expected it really messy for you guys, and it turned out good this morning. I have not brushed it. I have makeup smeared on from yesterday. I have not washed my face. This is me. And usually when Dan says, hey, I got to make a run to Lowe's and O'Reilly's, I hightail it, shotgun. We're going to hold hands. We may go through the drive-thru at Dutch Bros or Starbucks, grab a coffee, and we're going to talk about what's going on in our lives. That's our date. And I know I am gorgeous to him, like this. This is me. It doesn't matter to him if I doll myself up or if it's this. Now, I want to make very clear that nobody's misunderstanding what I'm saying. I am not saying you need a man to feel God's love. I would never, ever try to put that message out there. I am not trying to say you need to be in a relationship to understand God. I would never say that. I am saying God knows my story and my history well enough. And someday I'll share my history of why this is so important, that I needed God to whisper through Dan that I am enough. I remember when this concept first hit me. It was my junior year of academy, and I was sitting in youth group. And sorry, I made eye contact. I looked at Dan. I shouldn't have. He didn't know I was telling stories on him today. I kept this a secret. I was sitting in youth group, junior year, and the Sabbath school leader said, "What do you have to do to go to heaven?" And all of us youth started listing character traits, and we had a lot of ideas. And he sat there quietly listening to us. Finally he said, Nope. And he starts to explain to us grace through faith, and that it is a gift from God. And I sat there with my mind blown. I don't remember the rest of the Sabbath school class, but I can picture exactly where I sat in the class. I remember everybody around me and the teacher. Everything stopped at that moment. Just like standing in front of Dan, offering me the gift of love and acceptance. I remember it. It was the same thing. And this is how well God knew me, and how hard he knew that this self-worth and self-acceptance was going to be hard for me. That I was going to need a partner right beside me daily, reminding me. How often do I do things and I present it to God, and God says, "Do you like it?" Oh, I thought you would. I remember reading this story, or a book, A Mary's Heart and a Martha's World, way, way back when my kids were toddlers, and it changed my life. It was a definite shifting point. And it talked about, it was a good book, covered a lot of things, but one chapter it talked about our alone time with God and how it is like a date. It should be as special, and we should be as committed to it. It talked about God waiting in this. This is how she pictured it, as a quiet little living room tucked away with a fire going, warmly lit, and God's waiting there for us. And the doors cracked open, and he can see us running by, doing a bunch, always busy, and he's just there waiting. After that, I started making time. And my relationship with God has become very similar to my relationship with Dan. I jump up eager each morning to spend time with God. I grab the clothes off the floor. My hair's a mess, got makeup on. Usually going to grab a cup of coffee. And I go to my spot and spend time with God. And I know I am gorgeous to him as I spend time with him. But this is how we should come to God. The saying, honest to God, it's an expression, a phrase that emphasizes feelings of something really true, honest, sincere, real, genuine. There's no hiding from God, who we really are. This is the God who got down on his knees, put his hands in the dirt to create us, got dirt under his nails creating us, put his mouth up to our nostrils to breathe life into us. His relationship is incredibly intimate and personal. And this is for each one of us. He has gifted us with an intimate love. God doesn't love us for what we can bring to the table or because of some outward appeal. No, it is a pure gift. I love in Isaiah 53:2, it tells us when Jesus came to earth, there was no outward beauty to him. It says there was no beauty that we should desire him. It talked about his appearance being plain. In verse 3, it tells us he was rejected and despised by men, but we also know there was those that were very drawn to him. Our scripture today, 1 Peter 3:3-4, talks about the hidden inner person. Those that took the time to see Jesus for who he was. God sees me. Dan sees me. God sees the hidden you and this hidden me. Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. The best part, he fashioned us after himself. He is a God. And what parent doesn't find their child absolutely beautiful? The most beautiful, right? And again, if you doubt that, in verse 31, whoops, I keep turning it the wrong way. In verse 31, it tells us, then God saw what he had made, and indeed it was very good. Right? Ephesians 2:8 tells us, for by grace we have been saved through faith, not of ourselves. It is the gift of God. You know, Dan has always believed me smarter, stronger, braver, more talented than I ever believed myself to be. He has been my best advocate, comforter, protector, challenger, and advisor. He has gently and persistently pursued me when I have given him ample reason to walk away. This man who first claimed to be an atheist walked in perfect partnership with God to help me build a better relationship with God and to accept God's gift more fully. Our place as homeland missionaries, as home missionaries, are sometimes overlooked and almost always beyond our comprehension of the impact they have. But this is my side of the story, and you'll all have to ask Dan for his side, because no doubt his will be different. All right. So I believe now we have the closing hymn, Hark the Herald Angels Sing.